We'll now say the Mishaberach for the Chatufim, for the hostages. Mishaberach Avotenu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov, hu yivarech v'yishmor v'yinsor et nederei tzva Hagana liYisrael v'chatufei yishuvei hadarom, b'neihem taf v'nashim, zikenim u'ne'arim, hachatufim b'nei avla oivei amcha u'mechalalei admatecha, ba'avur shehakahal mitpalel ba'avuram, HaKadosh Baruch Hu yimalei rachamim aleihem, yichazek et libam v'yametz et rucham, v'yotzi'ei mechoshech v'tzalmavet u'moseroteihem yenatek, u'mimitzukotehem yoshi'em, v'shivei mehira lechek mishpachoteihem, v'yivashu'u kenechamat Yeshayahu, likro lishvuyim diror v'la'asurim pekach koach, v'nomar Amen. Prayer for the Israel Defense Force. Misha berach avotenu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov, hu yivarech et chayalei tzva ha'agana liYisrael v'anshe kochot habitachon, ha'omedim al mishmar artzenu ve'arei Eloheinu migavul ha'levonot ve'ad bidbar Mitzrayim, u'min hayam hagadol ad levo ha'arava u'v'chol makom shehem b'yabasha ba'avir u'vayam. Yitein Adonai et oyevenu hakamim aleinu nigafim lifnehem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yishmor v'yatzil et chayaleinu. Mikol tzara v'tzuka u'mikol nega u'machala v'yishlach beracha v'hatzlacha b'chol ma'aseh yedehem. Yadber soneinu tachtehem v'yaterem b'cheter Yeshua uva'ateret nitzachon. V'kuyam bahem hakatuv ki Adonai Elohechem ha'holech imachem lihilachem lachem im oyevechem lahoshia etchem v'nomar Amen. Please be seated. The Haftarah that we're going to read this Shabbat is from the book of Hosea, the book of Hosea, and it begins with the following words: V'hayam mispar b'nei Yisrael kechol hayam, that the number of the Jewish people will be like the sand on the beach, asher lo yimad v'lo yisafer, that will not be able to be measured or counted. This is a blessing that the prophet foresees in the future. And the truth of the matter is, the Jewish people have been compared to so many different things that are beyond measure and beyond count. God promised Abraham, Usafor hakochavim im tuchal lispor otam. He told Abraham, look up to the skies, see if you can count the stars. Vayomer lo ko yihi ezarecha, and God said to him, this is how your children would be. When God spoke to Yaakov, he said, V'haya zara acha ka'afar ha'aretz. God told Jacob, your descendants will be like the dust of the earth. Also, immeasurable, innumerable. Why the different analogies? Why not compare the Jews to stars, and sometimes compare them to dirt, and sometimes compare them to sand? I think that it's easy to see the difference between comparing the Jews to stars, which is up in the sky and untouchable, unreachable, and comparing them to dirt or sand, which you can tread with your foot. There are different times of Jewish redemption. There are different times in Jewish history where even when the Jewish people are extremely successful, where our numbers far surpass any other time in Jewish history, we are still touchable and reachable, unfortunately, to our enemies. Well, what's the difference between dirt and sand? There's not a lot of difference, but when you think about it, sand has a special quality. Firstly, sand appears on the beach because the constant waves of the water crash against the rocks that are by the shore and break down the sand into tiny little particles. And so has it been with the Jewish people, that so many times throughout Jewish history, the waves of one iteration of persecution over another breaks the rocks of the fortitude and strength of the Jewish people. But what invariably results is the adaptation, the resiliency, and the ability to continue multiplying, just like we did in Egypt. That the more of a beating we take, the more that we are able to multiply and to continue onwards and to be productive and strong. And another interesting feature about sand is that even in the ancient world, they knew that you can harvest glass from sand, and you can make a lens for a telescope, and for something that'll give you clarity of vision. I think that there are many times in Jewish history where the Jewish people are beaten down and are like sand, but that also gives moral clarity, not necessarily to everyone in the world, but at least to the people who wish to be close to God and wish to understand. There has never been a greater time of moral clarity where the world is so starkly divided between good and evil in recent memory. And this brings us to why we're here tonight. The Brodutch family, you're going to hear their story in just a moment. On October 7th, the father Avihai was injured defending his beautiful community of Kfar Aza that so many of us had the opportunity to visit. His wife Hagar and his children Ofri, Yuval, and Oriya were taken captive into Gaza and were released over 40 days later on November 26th. We are so grateful that their family is safe. We know that they represent a small percentage of the hostages, most of whom are still in captivity. And we pray for those who are still in captivity. And we hope that through hearing the story of Avihai, and maybe if we have an opportunity, we'll hear from Ofri as well, his 11-year-old daughter, or maybe she'll answer a question, we'll see. No? Okay. If no, no. But hopefully that'll enable us to pray even more for the release of the hostages after we hear Avichai's story. Avihai, toda shebatem, toda lechol mishpachat Brodutch. Please, ladies and gentlemen, give your attention to Avihai.
Well, I'm Avihai Brodutch. My daughter Ofri is here with us tonight. We arrived in Toronto a week ago. Liraz really helped us with everything. We've done quite a few things. Hagar gave a few talks and some interviews. That's why she's not here today. It was a bit overwhelming. And my two boys, Uriah and Yuval, really like to be close to their mom. So they stayed at home for this event, which is a pity, because I really would have liked you to meet them as well. But Ofri is here, my girl, which is great. I hope she'll come up later to tell a bit of her story, because our story is actually split into two. Hagar, my wife, and my three kids, along with another little girl, Avigai, my neighbor's girl, were kidnapped into Gaza for 51 days. And I had a whole different story. So we were split up for 51 days and... Okay. And we each have... We each have our different story. Two groups of stories. I'll tell mine and a bit of their story as well, because they're not here to... Hagar's not here to tell it. It's really powerful to hear it from her. I don't know if any of you have heard it before, or even here in Toronto a few days ago. She told it, but I'll tell it as well, so you won't miss out. So we're from Kfar Aza. We've lived there for 10 years. We moved in Tzuk which was a large skirmish with every year we have different skirmishes with Gaza. So we moved during Tzuk. We lived on the Gaza border before. Hagar is from Kibbutz Gvulot, which is not so far away. And after Ofri was born, we moved to the area, which is really beautiful, Negev in Israel. Lots of farmland. I guess a lot of you have been You saw how beautiful it was. Really good people, simple people, and we decided we want to live in the area. And then we wanted to move to a kibbutz, and we went over to Kfar Aza a few years before. There was another skirmish, and mortar fire hit the kibbutz, and one kibbutz member was killed, Jimmy Kdoshim. So the kibbutz, this was 15 years ago, the kibbutz was in a really bad situation, and some families left. It was really difficult. This was before the Iron Dome even. So we decided we wanted to move there. It was the area is beautiful, as I said, and we wanted to do something for Zionism, and this was part of it. So we took our little girl, and we met Ophir Lipstein, which was our, now he was our mayor of the regional council, the leader of the community, the Sha'ar HaNegev community. And when we arrived, he helped us, he showed us around the kibbutz. And we saw the beautiful people in Kfar Aza, and we saw the beautiful kibbutz, and we decided to stay. And the war broke out 10 years ago, Tzuk Eitan, but we decided we wanted to live our lives over there. And I remember Ofri, we only had Ofri back then, she was 1 year old. And I showed her around in the kibbutz. This was during the fighting. And we went into the kindergarten. And they looked at us, at me and Ofri, in shock. And they asked, "What are you doing here? There's a war outside." And I said, "Nobody is going to tell me where I'm going to live in Israel, and where I'm going to walk, and what I can do. I'm going to take my little girl and show her around in the kibbutz. I feel safe. I know that the IDF is protecting me. And nothing that they do is going to keep me away from what I want to do in my country, in our country, in Israel." And we lived there in a small house. And after about 5 years, we were accepted as members in the kibbutz. And during those 5 years, Yuval was born, and then Uriah was born. And just as Uriah was born, we finished building our own new home, which is the first line to Aza. It's right on the fence from the kibbutz. And if you open our bedroom window, you see Gaza in front of us, and you see beautiful fields. And I built a small farm in the kibbutz. I grew pineapples right in front of the border. And every time there was a skirmish and a lot of protests from the Palestinian side, I would go there and pick my pineapples, and I would say, nobody's going to tell me when I can pick my pineapples. And this was, the whole kibbutz was doing the same thing. We always harvest in time, and we sow in time. And whatever goes on in Gaza, we know the army is protecting us. The Tzahal is protecting us. So this was before... yeah? Okay, I'm sorry. So this was all before October 7th, so it wasn't important what I said so far. On October, Free's birthday is October 8th. So October 6th, we celebrated her birthday. Our whole family came. My parents, my brother lives here in Toronto, I didn't say that, so he didn't come, but Hagar's family, her sister and her family, and her two brothers, and my parents and her parents all came. We celebrated. This was Friday evening. We had a really good time, and we went to sleep very happy, meaning to celebrate Ofri's birthday again on Shabbat. Cut the cake. So the cake was in the fridge waiting for her to celebrate with her friends. And then 6:30 came in the morning, huge bombardment of the south of Israel. This was really, really big. As I was saying, we're used to skirmishes and rocket fire and mortar fire on our kibbutz, but this was a lot bigger. and very different from what we're used to. The sirens went off, the Tzeva Adom. The Tzeva Adom is the code name for the siren in the kibbutz. So Hagar took the kids to the safe room. Every house in Israel, especially in the kibbutz, we have a safe room. It's reinforced concrete, and it's meant against rocket fire. So there is a door, and it's against explosions. It's not against anyone entering. So it's actually meant that if a rocket does fall, the rescuers could come in easily. So the door opens from the inside and from the outside. You can't lock it, so you could be rescued. So they went in the safe room, Hagar and my 3 kids, and I went outside to take pictures. I'm not sure if you've ever seen this, but it's a big Star Wars outside. There's the Iron Dome and rockets coming from Gaza, and it's really quite a scene to see this, to see the interceptions of the Iron Dome. So I went outside, but this time it was huge. I took some pictures and went back inside. I told Hagar there's something very big going on. And she's a community manager in Kibbutz Magen, which is also on the Gaza border. And she started getting messages from people over there that something very big is going on. She told me, yeah, I know it's something very big. And I told her I got to go outside to see what's going on. Just as I got outside, I saw parachutes coming in to the kibbutz right over the fence, with people on them. These are motorized parachutes. Now it's a no-fly zone between Kfar Aza and the Gaza Strip. It's a no-fly zone. You can't even hold a kite. If something goes up in the air, the army straight away calls the security, the person in charge of security in the kibbutz, and tells them to bring it down, or they shoot it down. So this was very strange. It was quite obvious what it was. My heart just dropped. I ran back inside. We have a WhatsApp. I'm part of the security team, and we're trained for fighting against terrorists. Now, what we expected was a few terrorists that by some reason or whatever managed to go through and enter the kibbutz. And what we're supposed to do is contain the situation until the army arrives. We have a base maybe a 5-minute drive from us in Nachal Oz, and a few tanks around the kibbutz, so it should take the soldiers a few minutes to arrive, maximum 20-30 minutes. So that's what we've trained for. So I took out my phone. We have a WhatsApp group for the security team, and I wrote down terrorists in the kibbutz. Go open the armory. Now, we have an M16, and we used to keep it in our home. We were 15 members of the group. On this Shabbat, one was away, so we were 14. But about a year ago, the army decided that it's a big risk to keep our guns at home because of theft. They were afraid that someone would come inside and steal our guns. So they took our guns and put them all away in the center of the kibbutz in the armory. So I didn't have a gun with me. And I wrote down in the WhatsApp group, go open the armory, we need our guns. I got a call from Ophir Lipstein. He's part of the security team as well, the mayor. He told me, Avihai, what's going on? I told him, Ophir, there's terrorists near my house. And he hung up the phone and he ran to grab his gun. And out of 14 people, 14 of us ran to grab our guns and left their families to stay. And already gunfire was starting. We heard gunfire in the kibbutz. And just as I quickly got dressed, put on my vest, my magazines, and tied my shoelaces. And just as I was about to get out, I heard a knock on the door, a really faint knock. And I said, that's it. I'm done. I don't have anything to protect me. And the terrorists are knocking at my door. But I looked through the peephole, and what I saw was a little girl. And I opened the door, and just as she saw me, she ran away without looking back. And I recognized her. She has a nice curly hair. And she's the daughter of a friend of mine, Roy. Roy and I are really good friends. Every day we drink coffee together, and then we take I take my boy Uriah, and they're together in the kindergarten. He takes Abigail to the kindergarten. Then we come back and we drink coffee, and then we go off to work together. And then we come back from work and we pick them up and have another cup of coffee or something to drink. This is every day. And on Shishi, he comes over. We're really good friends. That's why she ran over to our house. She's good friends with Uriah. But when she saw me, she ran away, and I yelled at her to come back. And then I had to go run after her. And I ran after her, and I picked her up. And she was pale, really pale, but red with blood from her dad's blood. I could see she wasn't hurt, but it was pretty obvious what was going on. So I picked her up, I gave her to Hagar, and I told Hagar, go lock everything in the house, don't get out of the safe room. And I ran off. Now what I learned later, that this I learned from Abigail, she returned. They shot her mom, Smadar, right in front of her eyes. And her dad, which is a reporter for Yediot Achronot, he, just as I did, he went outside to take pictures of the fire that was going on, of the rocket fire. But he didn't make it back inside in time. He did manage to send some pictures and even a video of what was going on. When he did come inside, they had already shot his wife, Smadar, and he picked up his girl. She has two other siblings, a brother and a sister, and he picked them all up and ran outside, but the terrorists caught him and they shot him in the back, and he fell on top of Abigail. That's why she was full of blood. It was his blood. But she managed to crawl from underneath. She's a brave little girl, and she ran all the way to my house. It's not that close. It's probably 100 meters away. And she knocked at our door. Her brother and her sister hid in the closet while their mom was lying dead right beside the closet. And they hid there for a whole day, almost. Yesterday, I met the soldier that rescued them. He was here in Toronto by pure luck. This is, I think, the bravest man I met so far. He rescued her brother and her sister, and he told me the story from his side, which is there's so many stories to tell. Anyway, I ran to the armory after giving Abigail to my wife. So she was there in the safe room with Abigail. She cleaned her up from her dad's blood and my 3 kids. And I ran with no gun. I managed to reach the armory. I was fired at on the way, but by luck, I managed to arrive. 13 managed to arrive, and one of us, he almost arrived, but they started firing at him. So he had a gun, pistol with him. So he managed to go to another part of the kibbutz and do other very important things that saved a lot of people's lives. When I arrived, I picked up my gun, and they were waiting for us. They knew quite a lot about our kibbutz. They had maps where everything's at. They did quite a good job about knowing. They had special places they wanted to go. They knew where the generals, we have some generals in the kibbutz still serving the army. They knew where they were living, and they went to their homes. And then Ophir Lipstein lived, and they went to his home and they killed him. He managed to arrive. He took his gun. They killed him on the way. And right in the beginning, they killed three of us, which is Ophir Lipstein, Tal Eilon, and Ori Rosso. Tal Eilon and Ori Rosso, they got a call from Ro'i just before he was killed, and they ran over to save him. They grabbed their gun and ran over, but they didn't manage to arrive. The terrorists caught them on the way and killed them. And so there were 11 of us left. We all took our guns, one after the other, as we reached. And huge gunfire, massive gunfire was thrown at us. 4 of us died right by the armory. Each one trying to save his friend and getting fired at. So 7 overall were killed, and 7 stayed to keep on fighting. Now what happened was we split up. All our commanders were killed, which is Tal Eilon, Uri Rosso, Avi Indi, and Shachar Aviani. There are 4 of our commanders in the small security unit, and they were all killed at the beginning, so we were lost. We split up. 2 ran to the other side of the kibbutz to try and save people. The terrorists entered from all over. They did their homework, and they entered from 4 or 5 places in the kibbutz. So we were surrounded. 2 went to fight in the other side of the kibbutz. Another 2 went to fight in another place. And me and a friend, we split up. I was left by myself. And the first guy that didn't reach the armory, he went to coordinate what he could. He ran over to kibbutz Saad. Saad is a kibbutz right next to us. It's a religious kibbutz. This was Shabbat. He ran over there and he started screaming to bring reinforcements from the kibbutz. And this was Simchat Torah, Shabbat. And he managed to get some people. And these were people that just got up. They didn't know what was going on. And some of them had pistols. Some of them managed to reach their M16s. And I remember one of them, this I'm going to tell later, he came barefoot. He just heard what was going on and he came running barefoot to save people from Kfar Aza. So this talk is a lot about unity and how united we are as a people. And I see this and I think we can all feel it over here. In recent times, before October 7th, we were talking about, there was a lot of division in Israel and between Jews. And why I'm saying this is because Saad is a religious kibbutz and Kfar Aza is a secular kibbutz. But nobody thought twice. Everybody just ran trying to save Jews and trying to save lives. So I was left alone. I ran to the other side of the kibbutz where there was fighting going on. I was intercepted on the way, and it's a long story. I'm not going to tell it all, but I was fired at with an RPG. At first they fired Kalashnikovs at me, which was a fair fight. There were 5 or 6 of them that caught me. So I fired back. I did manage to fire back, but then they fired an RPG at me, which was quite unfair. And it exploded. Luckily, it was an armor-piercing RPG. They didn't think too much, luckily for me. And it hit the wall right behind me. It was maybe this far away, but it pierced the wall and exploded behind me. So I just got a small part of that explosion, but I did get shrapnel all over. I got quite a nice piece in my leg, and I couldn't walk. But I did manage to crawl, but they didn't see me crawl to where I did. They started coming back to try and to see if I was dead. But every time they came back, I fired at them, and they ran away, and they started throwing grenades at me. But luckily for me, they threw them in the wrong direction because they didn't see me move. So I just got shock from them, but no shrapnel. And every time they threw a grenade, I saw them throwing it, so I could fire back. And this went on and on for quite some time. But I kept firing back. And I kept changing magazines, and I even filled up a magazine, luckily for me. And they just got tired of me. They kept coming and coming, but they had to evacuate themselves, and they just left me over there, injured. After some time, I took out my phone. I kept waiting for them to come back, but they didn't. They just left me there, and I asked to be rescued. And what I wrote was, where is Tzal? I want a helicopter to be rescued, because I thought I was the whole deal. I thought all the terrorists were on me. But I was very, very wrong. And there was no Tzal, no IDF, no nothing. Eventually, a friend of mine saw the message, and he says, Avihai, I'm coming to rescue you. And he came over to rescue me, but he was shot on the way. He managed to arrive. He got 2 bullets. He still got one. One of them pierced his leg from one side to the other. He arrived, but he started bleeding. And the other one just stayed. He still has it in him. He survived. He's in good shape like me. But we were there, both of us now injured, waiting for a miracle. And the miracle arrived. I was telling you about this person from Saad that came barefoot. And we were just lying there, and suddenly all these small forces come, not IDF, but people came from Saad. And one of them was this saint that came barefoot to rescue us. And then another one came, and I gave him my M16, and in turn I got his pistol, which was a big downgrade for me, but I could keep on fighting, and he could, and he did a great job with my M16. He was much smarter than me, and he realized that it's hopeless just to go and run at them. So he climbed up on a rooftop, and he did a great job protecting Kfar Aza from the rooftop, which was amazing. That's why you have to be smart, and it's important in combat as well to be smart and not just to run, which I learned a bit too late, but I survived as well. So it's as opposed to my friends. Anyway, by around 2 o'clock, before that, after we were lying there, Sergei and I took out my phone and I started texting Hagar, because it started being a little bit more quiet where we were at. And I asked her how she was doing, and she said, I'm doing fine. And she asked me how I was. I said, I'm good, just stay in the mamad, in the safe room. And then about 11:15, she said, there's somebody coming in. And I asked her, I returned the message and I said, what's going on? And got no message back. And about 20 messages later that I just kept on writing what's going on and getting no answer, I realized that it was hopeless. And by that time there was huge fire around us. And they actually started coming back, the terrorists, to where I was at. But they didn't want to arrive exactly. They were too afraid, so they started firing from far away at me and at Sergei. But they couldn't hit us, luckily. So there was huge fire going around. And in my thoughts, my family was slaughtered. So I was there lying with Sergei, and we were talking about what we're going to do next with our lives. He was losing consciousness. He lost a lot of blood. I actually took off my belt and an empty magazine, and he made a tourniquet around his leg to stop the bleeding, which saved his life. Around 2 o'clock, a police force came and rescued the both of us. And they put us just outside of the kibbutz, along with all the other dead and wounded that they managed to rescue. And I was lying down with dead bodies beside me and wounded people. And finally, we were moved to a helicopter pad in Saad. And I remember the soldier that he put me on the helicopter, and he was taking care of me, and he took out his phone and he said, would you like to call your family? And I told him, I have no family, there's no one to call. And then I arrived at the hospital, and the nurse came over, and she asked the same thing. She said, would you like to call your family? And I told her, I have no one. They're all dead. And it's actually written in my acceptance form in the hospital. It says, according to the patient, his whole family is dead. So I spent a few days in hospital, but on Sunday evening, it was a really bad night for me, Saturday evening, and I didn't even know what was going on. I remember on Shabbat when I arrived to hospital, to the emergency room at first, but then they moved us to a big hall. And I was lying down and I looked beside me and I saw this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful girl, maybe 20-something years old. And I was rescued in my underwear. They cut your uniform to see where you're wounded. And this was just a beautiful girl in the bed beside me, and I told her, what are you doing here? She wasn't from Kfar Aza, and she told me, I'm from the party. And I said, what party? What are you talking about? There's a war going on in Kfar Aza. And then I realized that it wasn't only in Kfar Aza, and it wasn't only me, and people around me. It was all over the south. And that's what it was, just the wounded kept coming into the hospital. But not only the wounded kept coming in, but the whole of Israel came, and they came to support us. And people from all walks of life, anyone that could do anything came. And obviously, like I'm getting over here, people brought food. That's the first thing they bring. So we got the cakes thrown at us and whatever people could make. I'm getting the same over here. My fridge is full with everything. And people came with guitars and started playing songs. And this was like surrealistic, just unimaginable. The wounded and the good people of Israel, and the doctors and the nurses and the whole medical team, and just everything around us was just incredible. But at that time, I thought my family was dead, so it was just surrealistic what was going on. You saw all this generosity, and everybody was uniting, and just incredible, and I was still alone in this world. But they didn't let me feel alone. So this Saturday night, Shabbat night, was the worst night of my life by far. Just lying in bed. I remember I didn't even want to get out of bed. I couldn't walk, but I remember I just wanted to stay in bed. This was my whole world at that time. But Sunday afternoon, of course my family was with me and my friends. Sunday afternoon, I got a phone call. My dad got a phone call from someone in the kibbutz, from my neighbor, and he saw them. He saw the terrorists taking my family away. Apparently 15 terrorists came into my house. When I got the message from Hagar, that was it. She told the kids, my 3 kids and Avihai, to hide beneath the sheets, which didn't help a lot. They entered the safe room very easily. Hagar couldn't hold the door closed. They started to cry, and they asked for the car. First they saw, I didn't say this, but when Abigail knocked on the door, we have a double magazine. It's called Tzolevet, and this is the most important magazine you have. It's a double magazine, so when you finish one, it's really easy to change magazines. But I left it, because Abigail knocked on the door, I left it on the couch, because I wanted it to hold it, so just as I reached the army, I could put it in and start fighting. But I forgot it on the couch, opening the door to Abigail. So when the terrorists came in, they probably saw it on the couch, and they were looking for me. And they tore the house apart, looking for me and looking for ammunition. They wanted to see what was going on. This Hagar told me later. But they asked for the car keys, and Hagar was very happy to give them the car keys. She thought they were going to steal the car. But once they got their car keys, they told them to put their shoes on. They were very nice. In the kibbutz, we walk barefoot all the time. But they told them to put their shoes on. And they put their shoes on. And they got into our car. And 3 terrorists entered with them. And they drove off to Gaza. And this Hagar told me later that when they reached Gaza, they opened the doors and they held Ofri in the shirt, in the collar, and they showed her around to the people of Gaza. What a prize they got. They got a small 10-year-old Jewish girl that the next day she celebrated her birthday in Gaza. And they held Hagar by the hair and showed her around as well. And they took them to a house with a family, locked them in a room, and they were very proud of themselves of what they did. They took my family away from me. They killed 62 people from the kibbutz, slaughtered 62 people, and two other hostages died in Gaza. So all in all, 64 are dead from Kfar Aza. 19 were taken hostage, and 5 are still over there in Gaza, waiting to be rescued or brought back by means of an agreement with Hamas, with the terrorist organization. So after I got the news on Sunday evening, I said Saturday night was the worst day of my life, but Sunday evening up till that time was the best day of my life. I got the best news I could ever get, that my family was probably taken hostage to Gaza. So I had hope, and this was a miracle for me. I had one miracle, that I was alive. If I show you the pictures of what I went through in the gunfire that I got, the whole place where I was at was just destroyed, and I survived. And now I got news that my family is probably alive, that a neighbor saw them. So that was my second miracle. What I remembered, that Avihai is with them. And I thought maybe her family doesn't know. And they thought she was dead. They didn't know where she was. Nobody knew. And I called Roi's brother, Amit. And I told him, Amit, I think Abigail is with my family. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that I picked her up that morning and that she's with Hagar. And I know they're kidnapped, probably, and she's probably kidnapped as well. So that was the best news they got on that day. After a few days, I was released from hospital, and I started calling people. And now I study nursing. Up till I was still studying nursing, but I'm an agronomist. I'm a farmer. I told you I have a farm in the kibbutz, so I know nothing about politics or people, politicians or army generals or nothing. But I have a lot of friends, which is really lucky for me. So I called my friends, well, they called me, I didn't have to call them, and asked them, do you have any connections? And each one that had a small connection gave me that number. So I called generals, and I called politicians, and I called whoever I can get hold of. And I made a big mess about everybody. I have, now I've got thousands of names, I think, in my phone. And some of them called back, and some of them I reached, and some of them didn't care. But the ones who did really helped me, and with what they could. But what I realized about a week, what I didn't say is, I have a dog. It's a big Ridgeback, and when I ran out to the armory, he ran out with me. But he couldn't handle the gunfire, and he didn't stay beside me. So I didn't know what was going on with him. But Friday, or 6 days later, he was rescued, and I got him back. So that was my second sign of hope. But on that Friday that I got him back, I realized that my government just wants revenge. They don't want my family back. And that's my family that were taken from our home. we did all the right things. We came to live in Kfar Aza. I went out to fight to protect the kibbutz. We live on the fence. We believe in Zionism and believe in keeping our country alive and well and to settle in our country. And I felt betrayed because nobody told me that their mission was to bring back my family. Everybody told me that we have an opportunity to destroy Hamas. And that sounded really strange for me because I felt that they're using my family to accomplish something that was unable to be accomplished. And I knew this at that time, but nobody else knew this. So between Friday and Saturday, I got a phone call from a government official, 2 a.m. And he called me back because I sent him a lot of messages. And he told me, Avihai, one of our missions is to bring back your family. And I told him, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That's one of your missions. And I woke up my brother. He came from Toronto to Israel. I think on that day, on the day before. And I told him, please drive me. And my dog, Rodney, my dog was just rescued and he was post-traumatic. He couldn't leave me. He was all the time beside me. And I took a chair and my dog and my brother drove me. Went over to the Kiryah, to the defense ministry in the center of Tel Aviv. That's where the big war room is, where they make all the decisions. And I said, drop me off at this entrance. And every general that's coming in, and when Bibi Netanyahu comes in, he's going to see me. And he's going to know that my girl is over there, and my family is over there. But I picked the wrong entrance. I told you, I don't know anything. We're from the south. Nobody goes in and out from that entrance, apparently. There's a huge entrance. It's unmissable. Only I missed it on the other side. But it did its job because it's Tel Aviv and people walk by. And I remember my brother telling me, he said, can I get you some coffee? And I told him, this was 3 a.m. when we arrived there. And I said, just wait till people get up. I promise you, you're going to get coffee and a breakfast and everything you need. And that's exactly what happened, because it was Shabbat. People were walking their dogs. I had a big sign. It said, my family is in Gaza. At first, it's still outside the defense ministry, and policemen came. I looked homeless, told you I was rescued in my underwear, and nobody in Kfar Aza had nothing. So we all got donated clothes. I didn't have shoes with my size, so I looked homeless. Not a lot better than I look now, but not a lot worse. But they thought I was homeless with a sign and a dog. And they told me to move away, and I told them I'm not going anywhere. But they read the sign and they said, what does this sign mean? And I said, it means what it means. My family's in Gaza. And they looked at me and asked me where I was from, and I told them, and they said, Avihai. Well, they didn't know my name, but they said, you can stay, do whatever you want. We're not going to touch you. And I stayed there. And in the morning, the sun came up. People started coming, and my brother posted on Facebook my picture with my dog, and people started coming and posting in their own Facebooks. And I think by 9 or 10, thousands of people were over there, and the media came. And now I'm speaking to you like it's natural, but it's not. I think I had 20 cameras around me of international media, and I gave interviews, and then the local media came. There was a big mess going on, and that's when things started to change. And then I kept doing this again and again and again. I even went to Washington. I met the Qatari ambassador in Washington, and he promised me that he'll do everything to bring my family back. He said, Islam doesn't believe in this, and it's wrong, and it's hurting Islam. He has three children as well of his own, and he said, Avihai, I'm going to do everything I can to bring your family back. and I believe he did everything he could. These are politicians again. We all know not to trust politicians, but I had no other choice. And I trusted a lot of people, and it helped. And my daughter is here. And after 51 days of lots of going around the world and giving out interviews and speaking out, and you saw all the pictures being hung around the world and in Israel, and people started talking about this, about the horrible things that have been done to Kfar Aza and to Jews in Israel. After 51 days, there was an agreement with Hamas, and the first people came out after 49 days, and Hamas had a big reality show for us made out. Every day they would release 10 hostages, but they wouldn't tell us who. So we had to wait for a phone call from a government official to tell us if we're in the list. Just an incredible reality show to wait to see if your family, we didn't even know if they were alive. To see if your family is on the list. So on the first day, I got a no. On the second day, and this Hamas, they didn't do it in the morning. They waited till the middle of the night to do this. So every day I got a call in the middle of the night for the first 2 days that they're not on the list. But on the last day, on the 51st day, I got a call from my connection in the government, and she said, Avihai, and I said, you don't have to say anything else, I can hear it in your voice. Again, the best day of my life. Obviously, I couldn't go back to sleep. Friends of mine took me to Kfar Aza, to my house, to our house, to bring things for them. So I brought dolls, and I brought their pillows, and whatever I could, because I had to meet them in Schneider Hospital. Schneider Hospital had a new ward built for oncological kids. It was brand new, but they saved it for the hostages, for the returnees. And I had to go back to Schneider after Kfar Aza to wait for my family to arrive from Gaza. And I was there, and it felt like the whole world was there with me, cheering. And there was a big window over there, just in front of the helicopter pad, and we were standing there. My Hagar, she was supposed to call me from the Gaza border, and I was waiting for a phone call, but it didn't arrive. And later I learned that the whole time she was there, she was sure that I was dead. And just as she arrived, on that day, the 51st day, she returned, and the Goldstein family returned. The Goldstein family are our neighbors. The terrorists killed Nadav and Yam, a father and a daughter, and they took a mother, Chen, and her other 3 children hostage as well. They saw the terrorists kill Nadav and Yam, so they knew what was going on when they were held hostage. But Hagar didn't know what was going on. But Chen, when she was there in Gaza, she heard on the radio, she heard my voice. And when they put them in the Red Cross vehicle, Chen told Hagar, Avihai is alive. And that was the first time she heard that I was alive. So she couldn't get herself to even call me. So I had to wait for them. And they arrived by helicopter in that helicopter pad. We were watching them from up above. Just incredible, waiting for your family to arrive. And after the helicopter landed, I went over to the elevator. First one to come out was a flea. And this was just the elevator opening. And you see not one miracle, not 2, but 4 miracles coming out. And it's your family, my family. And this was incredible. Some of you may have seen the pictures. They were all coming out smiling. Again, best day of my life. It just keeps better and better. It looked like it was the best day of their lives as well. So 3 kids coming out smiling. They lost a little weight. They were full of lice. They looked, if I didn't know it was them, maybe I wouldn't have recognized them. They were just half of what they were before. They starved them over there. They had food, but they decided to starve them. But they were still smiling. The only one that wasn't smiling was Hagar. She was crying. But we all hugged. We had the best doctors, the best nurses, the best people around us, taking the best care of us that they ever could. Just incredible. And I see you all over here, and it's the same people that were over there are over here, showing their support and doing everything that they can for us, for this community. And when I say community, I mean Jews all over the world, and I've witnessed this. I met a few Jewish communities in Miami and in Washington and in New York and in Berlin and over here, and it's all the same. The support we got is just amazing. The unity is just amazing. Something I never knew. I never even thought existed. And the clothes that I got were donated by people like you. And whatever we got, I had nothing at all. I didn't even care. But people didn't care that I didn't care. They just gave me things. They took care of me. They knew what I was going through. They felt what I was feeling, and they gave me everything. People offered me just unbelievable things. They offered me their homes and whatever you can think of. They offered me lifts to go rides to go wherever I wanted. Just everything. They felt what I was feeling. And I can see you now, and I know that you can relate to what I'm saying, and that you're feeling what I'm feeling. And this is the unity that holds us together. And they're talking about victory, total victory. That's what they're saying. I'm not sure what they mean when they're saying total victory, but when I come over here to the other side of the world, and you all come to listen to my story, and I know you all support me, I can feel this. This is our victory, and this is not going anywhere. This is staying, and this is here right now, and it was here before October 7th, and it's going to be here after October 7th. And we have to keep this victory, and we don't have to do anything because it's here already. We have to keep Jewish lives. We have to keep all lives, not only Jewish lives. Life is the most important thing. But now we have Jews over there, not only Jews, by the way. There's also some Muslims, Arabs that were helping Jews and that were always also taken hostage. And we have to do everything we can to bring them back. Today we got news that four hostages were killed in Gaza. They were alive when they were taken, and they were killed over there. And this is 4 lives that we lost already, and it's 4 worlds that have been torn apart, and their families, so it's much more than that. And I know we're doing everything we can, but I feel that not everybody's doing everything that they can. And if it's just a word, total victory, it is just a word, because I know what victory is. I feel it. We have to do everything we can to save the lives that we still can save. So that's my message. What I'm trying to say is we are united, but we have to unite not only at wartime. It's the easiest thing to do is to unite at wartime. A bit harder is to stay united when we're doing things that we don't all agree on. And the weirdest thing to say is we don't all agree on peace. Peace is a word that not everybody agrees on. If it's peace for land or peace for whatever, not everybody agrees on peace. But even if you agree or not, I always remind myself that the most important thing is unity. And whatever we do, you know, before October 7th, we had lots of protests in Israel. And people, we are a left-wing community, mostly in Kfar Aza. I'm a big believer of peace. I'm a believer of humanity. And people always ask me if I wanted revenge, and I said I don't want any revenge. I think we don't have the privilege as Jews to take revenge on anyone. What I believe is, as a Jew, is we have to show the world the goodness of people. That's what we always have to be. And I'm not saying that we don't need a strong army. I'm not saying that we don't need to fight. I'm not saying that we don't need to kill our enemies. We do. We need to kill our enemies before they kill us. It still doesn't give us the right not to be humane and not to strive for peace for as long as we can. This is the message we need to show the world, because what's going on right now. You know, I went to a home of a Jewish family, and there was police outside. It was a small event, and I looked at. I thought, why do you need police outside? It doesn't make any sense. And we're living in times now. You're all over here that are not the best times. It's not the best time to be a Jew, and we need to do everything we can to fix this. You know, I know we're not the only ones to blame. Anti-Semitism has always been out there, and I think it's always been here as well. We can see it right now, but we still have to do everything that we can to make it stop, and we have to show the world what kind of people we are. And I think we're all peace-loving people, and it's the hardest thing to agree on what kind of peace we want. But we still have to say that word every time, that we want peace, and we want peace with our neighbors, and our neighbors happen to be our enemies. But we still don't have the right to think, well, we don't have the privilege, not the right. Everyone's got the right to think whatever he wants. We don't have the privilege to think otherwise. So I thank you very much.
Answer some questions. And does if we want to say anything? We're going to ask a few questions that were submitted in advance. Asit Samid Bishvili? Asit Samid? This is all three, everyone. עופרי, את זוכרת כשהיית בעזה? את יכולה לתאר מה שאת זוכרת? את יכולה להגיד לאבא? I asked her if she remembers her time in Gaza.
שמה? תגידי, לא שומעים. Okay, well, she said for the last 2 or 3 weeks, they only had a small meal. It was actually pita bread and za'atar. And she missed home a lot. And what I can tell you, I asked Ofri once what she thought when they took her away on a ride to Gaza, and what she told me was she thought they were going to kill her. And to hear this from your daughter, that on the way she thought they were taking her away to kill her in the car. And now she's saying that were hard times she had starving over there. And this is Ofri. I have Uriah is 5 years. He's now 5. He was 4 back then, and it was really hard for him. Ofri gave up her food, her portion of the pita, so Uriah could have his. So she's a brave little girl, and I'm very, very proud. I was proud of her before. She's just one miracle out of my 4 miracles. זה סיפרתי.
כן, תודה עופרי, תודה. One of the questions that Avihai, that a number of people have been asking, is that it seems that this is, there's no question that this is tremendously beneficial for us, because there's this idea of being nosei ba'ol. We want to be a part of your life and of your experience. Do you personally find this therapeutic for yourself to tell your story, and tell us what kind of care, what kind of therapy or other kinds of care your family is receiving to deal with the trauma of what they've experienced?
Well, right now, again, seeing you all, I feel I have a mission. I have a privilege. It's not a mission. I have a privilege in life right now to be part of this unity. And if I have a mission, then it's to do my part in it. And it is very therapeutic for me to feel all this tremendous support that I see over here in it. So, Hagar, it's a bit. She went through other things. I think much more traumatic than I did, and it's a bit more difficult for her. But I still think it's good to let it out. And for me, definitely, I feel really good after. I know I'll feel good after coming here and seeing you listen to my story. So the answer is yes. I thank you very much for coming and for inviting me over. And as for the kids, and the government gave a lot of support to us, and I'm very grateful. Hagar, she was sure she was going to be released after a few days. And after the time went by, this also Ofri asked me to tell you, they were bombed by the IDF. Ofri also has a scar on her hand as a result of IDF bombing. And what Hagar saw, what she felt was that nobody cares about them, that the IDF is just bombing. Obviously, we learned that the IDF didn't just bomb. And they did whatever they could, they still do, for the hostages. I'm a soldier. Every Israeli is a soldier. It's something that's just in us. And I serve in the reserves as well for all my life. Every time there was a war, I went and did what I could. So we were part of the IDF. But when you're over there and you're being bombed, you think everybody's forgetting about you. So Hagar, she was thinking, if she comes back, what she's going to do in terms of financing herself. And I like to ride bicycles, and I have a nice bike. So and just before October 7th, I gave it to the shop to be fixed. And she thought over there, how is she going to get it out of the shop so she could sell the bike so she could have money to live? But this, luckily for us, the government is giving us support, and in terms of therapy as well, we each got our own therapist. Back in Israel, obviously, we got a place to live. Kfar Aza is unlivable right now. Our house is in pretty good shape, but some aren't. We live in a Shfaim, in a hotel. We get therapy. I got tired of therapy, so I'm not going. But we do get all the support we need in these terms, and we're doing well. We just have to find. The next question will be if we're going to be back in Kfar Aza. So I guess it's what they always ask. So a few days ago, we talk a lot about everything. It's just all out there with my kids. We talk about. I remember we really love Schneider Hospital. Schneider Hospital hosted us so graciously. Just the people are something different, the doctors. And we sat a few months ago with one of the doctors, just this beautiful person, Yael, and she said, Avihai, do you remember the first day when they returned, they were full of lice, just unbelievably full of lice. And she said, you were combing your daughter's hair, or Fri's hair, and while you were combing her hair, she was asking you, who's dead in the kibbutz? And she said, is Avi dead? And you said yes. And is Sergei dead? And you said no. And is Ro'i dead? And you said yes. And this is while you were combing her hair after their return. And this is just, again, surrealistic. So what I'm saying, we've been through so much, the kibbutz. It's just all out there. We talk about everything. You can't hide it. It's not like telling that your dog went over to a farm. You can't. They know what's going on. So I talked to my son, to Yuval, and he said, I want to go back to Kfar Aza. And I said, I respect that, and whatever you want, I'll do. I'm not even anything in this. But I just remind you that Omer Chermesh, this is a neighbor of ours. He's single. He was killed. But every evening they would go to his house while Hagar and I were making dinner. And they would stay and they would play video games, the three of them. And we would finish making dinner and they would come back. They were good friends with him. And he was killed. And I said, Omer's dead. Are you going to live there when Omer's dead? And our other next door neighbor, she's a grandmother, 80 years old. And she was killed as well in her bathroom. They shot her through the bathroom window. And I said, and Nomi's dead. Can you live there when you know that Nomi's dead, Nomi Gani? And Keith Sigal, just behind us, he's still kidnapped. They kidnapped him and his wife. His wife Aviva was released along with them, same day. But he's still kidnapped. And the Goldsteins, they killed the father and the daughter. They're 2 houses away from us. And the Kutzes, they killed the whole family, 5 people. They just killed them all. And Ro'i and Smadar, they killed them. They're 3 houses away from us. So I said that, and they kidnapped you from your home. Can you still live there? And I got no answer. But I think getting no answer is like getting a negative answer. So that's my answer to a question I thought you were going to ask. I don't think right now I can even imagine bring my family back to Kfar Aza. I love the kibbutz. I really do. Every time I go back there. Last time I was there, I met a neighbor by chance. And I said, Oren, I'm so happy to see you here. I feel at home. And he said, Avihai, I feel the exact same thing. And we hugged. And it was so beautiful to see someone from Kfar Aza just by chance over there. So I really, really miss the kibbutz. I miss the people. But too many of my friends were killed. My house, I have a big table outside. And everybody used to come over to my house. And we would sit over there. I have a refrigerator outside full of beers. And everybody would take a beer and sit with me. And this was almost every day. And 4 of my closest friends are dead. Because all of my friends were part of the team. There were 7, but 4 of them are really close friends. So it's going to be really hard to come back, to sit there without them. And especially for my family. But that being said, a lot of the community is going to return. They are going to rebuild, and Kfar Aza is going to rise up again from the ashes, if I have to say this. But I feel like I've been through a small part of a Holocaust, so I'm going to have to say this. We're going to rise up from the ashes, and there are ashes, if some of you have been over there. Whoever can, we all want to return. All of us want to return. I just don't think I can. But we will return, and we're going to rebuild, and it's going to be even nicer. We trust the IDF completely. We are part of the IDF. We're all soldiers, all of us. So they're going to solve the security issues. And right now, the whole kibbutz is moving to kibbutz Ruchama, which is not so far away. It's like 20 kilometers away, in temporary homes while they're rebuilding Kfar Aza. And once they rebuild Kfar Aza, whoever can return will return. And whoever can't is going to find another solution, like us right now. Maybe in a year or 2, I'll be saying different things, and the family is going to feel a little bit different. So I'm not saying, 100% that we're not going back, but that's the situation right now.
I just want to recognize our MPP, Laura Smith. Please, Laura, please come sit. We don't want you to stand. But hopefully you'll be able to relay, both you and Gila will be able to relay what you've heard tonight to your fellow members of Parliament and the city. Just one last question. I think it's a little bit overwhelming for us to process what you've just presented to us. You talked a little bit about your political views, just very, very briefly. What has changed from before October 7th to after October 7th for you personally, for the members of your kibbutz? Have the views changed at all, or is everything the same as before? Towards your neighbors, towards the prospects of peace, towards how to achieve that peace, v'chule.
Well, you hear a lot of things in Israel right now. People are, I'm not sure what the word is in English, hitpakhut. People are saying that they've seen the light. And I mean this in a negative way. That once they thought that we have a partner for peace, and now they feel that they don't. And I hear this, and I get upset. When I was first day, I remember David Remnick. He's a reporter he's the editor of the New Yorker. He came over to Tel Aviv on the 14th that was a week after. First day I was there. And he interviewed me. I didn't know who he was, but everybody that came to hear my story and my thoughts, I just gave it out. And I said, I think we have a chance for peace. This terrible thing that has happened to us is a chance for peace now. The whole world knows what we're up against right now. And we can use this as leverage for peace. we can force them to make peace with us. The whole world is behind us. And I think I was right back then, and I think we did a lot of things that led us in a different direction. I'm really sorry for that. I'm sorry for that for quite a few reasons. One of them is peace is drifting away from us. And the other reason is that there are still hostages over there. So my views haven't changed at all. I told you, I think as Jews, we don't have the privilege to think otherwise. We have to be the light for all the people in this world and not the darkness. And being the light is always having hope for humanity. And I still believe in humanity, and I am pretty sure that even the worst people in Gaza, they still love their children, even though we like to think otherwise. And they want them alive. They have crazy things in their minds, and they teach their kids crazy things. But we have the duty to make them teach their kids the right things. And I think we can achieve this by showing the world the light that we have in Judaism, and this is our strength. So I really get upset when people tell me that their views has changed from a peaceful views to otherwise. My views have stayed the same. I'm sorry to say that.
No, please don't be sorry. I just will observe those of you who are here for Shabbat. We heard from two young ladies who survived the Nova Festival. They gave a totally different answer, but it's both Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim Chayim. There's truth to both, and I very much appreciate what you've just shared. It's so. I would tell you this: if chaklaut, if agriculture farming doesn't work out for you, you could always make a wonderful parnasa as a storyteller and a public speaker, because you're the way that you were so able to so easily let the words flow and your emotions flow and really share of your experience with us is something that I don't think any of us will forget. I know that it's late, but I just want to let you know that from each and every one of us here, we can't obviously do it physically, but we all give you this tremendous chibuk, this tremendous hug to you. To you, to Ofri, and to your entire family, please send them our tremendous love. And on behalf of our entire Kihila, I'll give you a little hug. Thank you. Thank you, Avihai. Hatzlacha rabba. Hashem yivarech etchem. May God bless you. Thank you all for coming this evening.